In her weekly Taste of Torah email, Rabbi Caroline Sim of the ISJL this week used the Torah portion, Parshat Bo, as an entry point to discuss Moses and the nature of leadership. It's as if she knew I needed some help this week. Rabbi Sim pointed out that in the story of Exodus, Moses is just one person. The work of building anew after emerging from Egypt falls not on Moses, but on the Israelites collectively. The analogy to the next few months at Beth Israel could probably be clearer, but frankly, I'm not really sure how. It's not generations of captivity in Egypt, but we are trying to emerge from something pretty massive ourselves. The beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic came with one overarching social responsibility: don't be social. To take care of one another, our only choice was to stay away from one another. Even now, certain precautions, of course, remain necessary as we sit here in our physically distant sanctuary with our masks on. And these continued obligations keep us away from large, unmasked indoor gatherings even now. The impacts of the pandemic have obviously been deep and widespread, stretching far beyond the walls of Beth Israel. But here, gathering together is what we do. It's trite to say, but the point of our Jewish community is to be a Jewish community. COVID initially made that impossible, and it continues to pose plenty of challenges. But now we find ourselves in fits and starts, trying to emerge on the other end. Like Rabbi Sam explained about the Israelites, the way back for Beth Israel won't be and can't be an endeavor of this new board being installed tonight. Of course, the board is eager to serve and lead the congregation into the new year, but the work of bringing Beth Israel back falls to all of us. If there's a committee, an event, anything at all at this congregation that matters to you, I'm asking you to step up and give some of your time to it. 2020 through 2022 has been an extraordinary time to be alive, mostly not in a good way. But humans are adaptable, so many of us have settled into new routines that center far more around our own homes than our old routines used to. We've gotten used to interacting with each other virtually and interacting with each other less. And just as it was difficult back in April of 2020 to change the lives and routines we've known our entire lives, it is now difficult to change the lives and routines that we've established for ourselves over the last 2 years. So the challenge for all of us is to take a step back and evaluate what we're missing when we're not together as a Jewish community. Opportunities to learn and grow through Beth Israel's robust adult education programs under the leadership of our rabbi, the camaraderie of active, ongoing friendship with our fellow temple members, and the spiritual fulfillment of worship, just to name a few. If you're like me and you've missed the fullness of what Beth Israel can be, then I'm asking you to jump back in as soon as you're comfortable. To get personal for just a moment, I was consecrated in this sanctuary in 1989 or so. I've stood at this podium to become a bar mitzvah in 1997, to report back to the congregation about my Nifty in Israel trip in 2000, to introduce Nifty Southern Conclave as the regional advisor in 2009, and to give a eulogy for my grandmother in 2018. I've experienced countless simchas and sorrows with this congregation in between. Having grown up here, I enjoy close relationships with an awful lot of past presidents, most of all the two who raised me. And to be clear, Macy, I'm talking about Beth and Steve. There's a lot of institutional memory at our fingertips here. Institutional memory about how this congregation is capable of being at its very best. And I invite you all to participate in returning us to our pre-COVID form over the next couple of years. If you have an issue, I want to hear about it. If you have an idea, I want to hear about that more. And if you have an hour here or there, I'm asking you to consider using it for the benefit of our small but mighty Jewish community. We all owe a huge debt of gratitude to the board of the last 2 years under Greg Pollock's leadership, as our big goals had to be shrunk down to the basic questions of how to continue offering meaningful services to our congregants during the global pandemic. It's because of Greg's leadership that we find ourselves stable and poised to move forward. So I hope you'll join me in thanking him for persevering through what has been an incredibly difficult couple of years to be the president of this congregation. And looking forward, I hope you'll be patient with me as I learn on the job, and I hope you'll dive back into congregational life. Because as the Parsha this week reminds us, the work falls to us all collectively. Shabbat Shalom.